It's Thursday again, tell everybody to lock in, grab some popcorn, a drink, and go and throw your AirPods in. It's the 1 hour show, constantly speaking facts. Bulletproof stats are always shooting from Matt. And when it comes to Kyle, you getting numbers and style. Jake is gonna educate you, he has that knowledge on file. Players, step your game up, don't be sluggish or lazy. Or Jimmy J might hit you with a shaky baby. Catch him on YouTube or any podcast platform. Breaking all the news down like Shaq does the backboards. No hot takes, this is where the hottest debate's at. Now kick your feet up, cause it's time for straight facts.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Straight Facts, a sports show that educates and entertains, brought to you by the Up On Game Presents Network. It's your boy, James Jackson. My guys, Jake Gallion, Stat Matt Robertson. Our boy Kyle could not join us today. That's all right. We remember him in spirit as we always do. But in the home offices today, because, Jake, I don't know what it is, man.
Well, it's Manioc. It's a fact I live in Manioc. It's a cursed area. My car, like, I've never seen a tire. I don't know if you guys have seen the episode of Martin where he's all like beaten up and like lumped up in the face. It literally is
flat. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what my tire looked like. I came out, I must have hit some pothole, but apparently it's really bad to drive on a bubble.
Did you
tire.
hit a pothole or did something hit? Because last time you just came out the crib and
Somebody
the car
hit me.
was
Now,
just
this was,
jacked up.
I would assume this is like on the highway going 60, 70 right over a pothole. That's what I have to imagine. And it happens frequent enough that I don't.
Well,
really
the most messed up part about living in Manioc is you don't know where or which pothole because there's 1,000 of them.
1,000 of them.
Even,
it's really more trying
retrace
to
your
like,
steps.
yeah, it's like you're walking on stilts on like a balance beam or something, trying to avoid.
And it's mini San Francisco. It's literally all hills.
Francisco.
It's nuts. Statman, how about you? You got any hitting potholes lately?
No, I've been very careful with my new car. Very, very, very careful.
Statman said, no, I have the safe driving bonus check from Safe Farm. Yeah.
I got low-bearing tires. I'm very conscious of that.
You did just buy a new car, so
yeah.
That's why it takes you so long to get to the studio when we're in studio, because you Statman should have crawled on the highway. All right, yo, before we get into the pod, there's actually a debate that I wanted to surprise you guys with this. I want to get your raw take on it. There's a hot debate in the podcast world. Came off a part of my take, and Diana Rossini, got to give her the original credit. When you use your stovetop, what is your preferred burner? Jake, I'll start with you. Your preferred burner on the stovetop.
Gotta be the bottom right. Or your handedness. If you're left-handed, it would be bottom left.
No. Just, what do you think? What do you use your preferred? I think it says something about you. So what's your preferred?
Bottom right. Like if I'm looking at it and it's like boom, boom,
bottom
boom,
right?
boom. I'm like the closest to me to the right. My right hand.
Front right.
Yeah, I'm going front right.
You look like
it
a
depends.
front right kind of guy.
It depends because my burners are different size. So I got you got two big burners, two little burners.
God. This is why
you really thought you were going to get Matt on a yes or no question? You really
no,
I forgot.
I bottom right. I like bottom right. Bottom right.
Oh, where are you?
I'm with two front righters, front left.
So
that is no brainer to me.
And by front, you mean the closest one to you, right?
Yeah, top or bottom left. I guess you guys would say.
I don't really
left.
have an issue.
You guys are both right-handed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you sturdy the pan with? Your left hand while the spatula's in my right. There's a science behind this.
It's not actually a bad logic. Maybe look, I don't have a hard stance. It's just what I've been doing.
I can see how your food cooks all uneven, pan all flying all over the place.
You don't have to go there. That's actually crazy.
No, I got the drawer with all like the cooking utensils is like closest to the burner too.
I'm tired of you breaking down the burners, man. I'm tired of you breaking down the burners.
As long as no one uses the back ones.
Yeah, I mean, boiling water while I'm cooking on the front ones only. Like come on, we have sense out here. But we got to move on to actual basketball because the NBA playoffs have been in full swing. It's the second round, so the conference semifinals right now, and they've been really good. But we have to focus on two series in particular that are kind of mirroring each other, very similar. And it happens to be the ones that aren't playing on Wednesday night when we're recording. Gives us a good chance to talk about them. But they're the Sixers Heat series and the Suns Mavs series. Both series went from 0-2 to 3-2. And they kind of, we put them under the umbrella of what's changed. What had gone from 0-2 to both series being tied 2-2, the one seeds looking like they're in trouble, and then now 3-2 opposite ways. So first, we'll focus on the later game that was on Tuesday night, the Mavs Suns game where, my Suns go up 2-0. The Mavs storm back 0-2, winning both games in Dallas. Everyone has the same little shock, the same, oh no. Are the Suns in trouble? If does Chris Paul not have it? Is Devin Booker? And then what happens? We win in the Valley. We go up 3-2, and the noise is kind of quieted down a little bit. But we'll encompass the whole series because we have only got to talk about one game, I think, on the last pod. So 0-2 to 3-2, but it's really what our intents and purposes was 0-2 to 2-2.
Yeah, this isn't, when we first talked about it, we mentioned Luka needing help. He needs the others to step up. And that's really for any superstar across the board. And another thing that we know is that your role players are going to play better at home versus on the road. So I don't want to say that it's as simple as chalking it up to like, you're going to play better at home and your role players play better at home. I mean, Brunson he has looked improved, 28 in game 3, big time difference maker, 18 in game 4. And they've also been holding on to the ball a little bit more at home, have the Dallas Mavericks. I think they won the turnover battle, both of their wins, which against the Phoenix
some
Suns.
Good calls from the refs.
Right, well.
Especially game 4. A little bit of home cooking.
Some great calls. Non-Scott Foster calls. I'm like, they're multiplying.
He was off getting James. They said, hey, you get Harden. We'll take care of CP when he's in Dallas.
Divide and conquer,
but
boy.
I think what game 5 showed you, and this is ultimately what the deciding factor, in my opinion, of the series will be in game 6 and how the Suns turned it back around, is our man who found himself a little Birkin. Our guy who's found himself a little place to put things that he can use over and over again down the court. DeAndre Ayton didn't play a ton of minutes because it was mostly a blowout, 22 minutes in game 5, but he still had 20 and 9. So that's a guy who, I mean, look, that's how Utah tried to attack Dallas. Didn't work. You're going to have to get him down low, make him pay for going small. Ayton's a guy to do it, in my opinion.
And I believe it was Grant Hill on the broadcast said it last night. He said, DeAndre Ayton isn't a name that we have really mentioned much since game 1. And as a Phoenix Suns fan, that's unacceptable for DeAndre Ayton. That's, to me, unacceptable. From last series is unacceptable from the matchup. And then this series, when you're talking about a matchup of Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell, no disrespect, but that's a number 1 overall pick who's looking to get paid this summer, and a guy who's been billed as needing to be a valuable piece to a big 3 to win in this title. That has to be a matchup you win night in and night out. That 20 and 9 has to be night in and night out. And I just think it's nothing less than that. Like it's you have to win that matchup.
Yeah, also last week we talked about how Booker really wasn't fully back from his hamstring injury. And game 3, he also struggled, but then games 4 and 5, he's really played well. He put up 35 in a game 4 loss. And then last night he put up 28, 11 to 20 shooting. He's back to being the Devin Booker we know. That's really scary times for Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, it's I love when we had the Devin Booker takeover on Tuesday night. It's how, like, Chris Paul didn't light the world on fire. Devin Booker takes over, and he leads the Suns to a win. But I'm watching as Devin Booker tries to take over these games. It looks like Book gets going the most when the game is in the Suns' flow, and the game didn't break open until late in the second half. It was nip and tuck most of the first half.
It was a 3-point game at half.
Yeah. Still in the Suns' flow, still in the Suns' tempo. But when it wasn't in Dallas, you don't see Devin Booker have these explosion games, these takeover games. And the pace wasn't, in their favor in Dallas because Chris Paul gets taken out of the game, both, rhythmically and physically, fouling out in game 4. But it's something that I kind of wanted to key in on because Chris Paul is known as a disruptor. He is, an irritant of sorts.
You don't say.
That's his category. Easy now. I can say it. But what the Mavericks were able to do was disrupt the disruptor in games 3 and 4, get him in foul trouble in both scenarios, get him out of his rhythm, and Now, if Chris Paul is taken out of the game, the pacemaker of the Suns, then the Suns struggle. And, Jalen Brunson has his 18-point games, his 20-plus point games in the playoffs. That's really what I saw.
And if you just look at the Game 5 numbers for Dallas, it's unbelievable. So Brunson and Luka combined to go 19 of 40 for 50 points, 51 points. The rest of the team combined shot 8 of 31. So the entire team outside of 2 players made 8 shots throughout 4 quarters. That's unconscionably bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like at his age, really, Chris Paul shouldn't be asked to carry a team. Like, I mean, I get that that's the reality. Like, we're probably going to need, if we're going to, the further we go to beat these better and better teams.
Not carry.
But like, you can't have 12 points. You can't have 5 points. You can't have 7 points. Yeah. Like, I need you in the high teens and then give me.
Guide. It's like, I need you to guide this team. You can't guide this team.
Right. You need to be a settling factor. No 7 turnover games like we saw in Game 3. But like I said, truly, if you can just on when the Mavericks are on defense, if you put the ball into the paint and post DeAndre Ayton as deep as possible, they won't be able to play small because Kleba and Powell will be in foul trouble, or they'll have to play differently when Ayton has the ball in his hands, and you can adjust accordingly. I really do think that is the key battle, because if Dallas wins, it shifts their way.
Yeah, and it's funny when you look at Luka's output, because I think Luka is kind of playing a dangerous game, in my opinion. And Luka is trying to out gamesmanship Chris Paul. He's trying to out, manipulate the game, out foul bait him. He's trying to play Chris Paul's game and win. And in Dallas, that's going to get you a couple of games. In moments, that's going to get you a couple wins. Be careful playing this game. You're a great player, Luka, playing your game. Like, be careful trying to play this game, because that's the master at it, especially in today's NBA, in this modern era of NBA. Like, I'm not talking about purposely trying to bait fouls. You know what I mean when I say manipulate the angles of the game, manipulate the movements of the game. Be careful trying to swim in this water.
I would say, you also kind of want to goat him into Luka will get into zones where. And he's a great player. Like, he maybe even should take these shots, but he'll take just awful Harden-esque dribble, step back, clangs off the rim, and that was the worst possession ever. I think as long as he's not in the zone, which we saw in the first round against Utah, I think it might have been Game 5. He was hitting some crazy threes. He feels it and he takes them, and then they're good shots. But if you can goat him into thinking that he can beat the Suns by just playing hero ball, that's where I think really the Mavericks begin to fold.
Yeah, it's the classic matchup of veteran versus young up-and-comer. Because when you were saying, James, about how he can't try to do the Chris Paul gamesmanship, baiting fouls, that's exactly what Chris Paul wants him to do. Chris Paul wants to frustrate him and get Luka out of the game that Luka's best at playing, which is being a dynamic playmaker and getting his team involved. If Luka just tries to respond by getting angry about a cheap foul that Chris Paul is able to draw on a teammate, then the Mavericks are missing their best way to score on offense, which is through Luka. And when a young player like Luka gets mad, they either try to do stupid gamey things or chuck hero ball shots, like Jake was saying.
And it's easier to do, easier to stay composed when you're at home, and the environment's for you. It's much harder to do it when you're on the road, and all the bad stuff is tempting you. But it's also funny. I'm noticing it from Devin Booker. Devin Booker is coming along very nicely in his tutelage under Chris Paul. When you see him, smack the ball out of Luka's hands, and trying to do the what do you say, the Luka special when he's on the ground, getting into their head. Oh, he's coming along very nicely, paying attention to the Chris Paul movements. But one of the biggest narratives of these playoffs of his entire career so far is get Luka some help. And obviously people are screaming it in games 1 and game 2. And then after games 3 and game 4 in Dallas, you see him get that help from Dorian Finney-Smith, from Maxi Kleber, from Reggie Bullock. And then you see guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock repeat it in game 5, still give him some help. So is that something that Luka can bank on for maybe the rest of this series to try to push it to 6 and 7 games? Is that help that he's been getting?
Luka can never bank on getting help, but he has to hope that it's there, because if he just plays hero ball, it's a 1 in 10 shot that they can win. I think they probably win in Dallas, but I think it's a home team wins every game, and I don't think it's really close in game 7. I just think the gulf in depth is going to show itself like it did in other games. And honestly, if there isn't a bunch of calls that go the Mavericks' way, this might be over tomorrow night.
So when I went on a friend's podcast called Remember That Guy, and pretty much the premise is you bring a guy, and he can't be a star. So the guy that I brought and wanted to look into and induct into the Hall of Fame was Jay Crowder, eventually settled on DeMarre Carroll. For the point being this, they are the same in the sense that you need that.
A little bit better.
You need that, and he is now. So he doesn't really fit the comparison, but when he was getting wrecked by LeBron back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, you need that guy on your team, but when push comes to shove, like, that guy's not good enough to win. Like when you are without multiple stars, you need Jay Crowder is like a must on any winning team.
Mm-hmm.
But he will ultimately be like your downfall. Not anymore. That player is Dorian Finney-Smith. And I know that he's actually had a decent series, but like when Luka like turns and kicks, like when LeBron does it, it goes to Kyrie. When Luka does it, it goes to insert long wing stretch forward. Like, those guys can't ultimately compete with the Mikal Bridges, Devin Bookers, Chris Pauls of the world. And
so
like
you're saying it's not lasting. You're saying
I'm saying it's like I'm saying Luka is stuck in a paradox of 1 in 10 that I can go hero ball and win this. How many out of 10 is it that I can consistently count on Dorian Finney-Smith or Dwight Powell or who I mean, throw your rotational guy in there.
And I think they're having good stretches. Like, and the reason why I asked, can it sustain itself? Like, is it consistent? Because the stretch they're on, seeing the basket really well, is crazy right now. Dorian Finney-Smith, 12 3-pointers made, and the Mavs 2 wins in Dallas. Reggie Bullock, had a great game 3, 15, 4, and 2, efficient shooting with no turnovers in game 3. If Luka gets that, because we know Luka is one of the best at getting into the paint, creating and distributing. If he does get that production on kickouts, on rolls to the rim, efficient shooting, the Mavs can, stretch this to 6 and 7 games. Well, it's already gone 6, but the Mavs can stretch this to 7 games. But it's got to happen again in Dallas. It's got to happen again in Phoenix for them to win. Can it do that? Can it repeat itself?
I really don't think. Like, I think Phoenix is going to wrap up here. I think that this was kind of the harbinger of doom, that 30-point loss that they gave to Dallas. Because another option on defense is, like you said, Luka creating wide open looks is a way for them to win. And he does that through penetrating. Well, if you put a good on-ball defender on him, and then B, just say, look, if he beats us in the paint, let him make a contested layup, and we're not giving any help defense. That's another way that you can go about it. As Phoenix, that I think is going to yield good results. You see the Sixers, which we'll talk about, doing the same thing to Jimmy Butler, and getting wins out of it, despite Jimmy having these 34, 40-point games.
I really think it comes down to staying disciplined and not getting yourself into foul trouble. If you defend hard without fouling, you force the Mavericks into tough shots, you force them into long possessions, which, doesn't go in their favor, make them use the whole shot clock and get tired. And then it allows you to keep the pace of the game in your favor. And that's the pattern I see in the 3 wins and in the 2 losses for the Suns is foul trouble, not just with Chris Paul, foul trouble with DeAndre Ayton as well, too, in one of those 2 losses. So that's what I see.
If the Suns don't win this series, there's no way around saying it's like a horrible collapse.
Yeah. Who went there? Why? Who
No,
went there?
there's no excuse if the Suns lose this series. Like
I didn't even think that was the hypothetical we were arguing. I thought it was whether the Suns win in 6 or 7 games.
No, that's my point. So if Dallas actually manages to come back from 3-2 and make the conference finals, it's a really, really bad loss. Like there's no reason, unless Luka drops 60 in Game 7. Like there's no reason that
I'm calling right now for a Suns victory in Dallas on Thursday night. They wrap it up in 6. And the same thing happens, you know. They go up 2-0, then we go on the road. They win 2 games. The sky is falling with the Suns.
And then
it happens.
The next thing that happens after that is that Dallas makes a big push for Rudy Gobert. I'm ready to rebrand. I'm ready to rebrand as a Rudy Gobert fan. If he's on the Mavs, I will be in on Rudy Gobert as
why just him go?
Because now you pair him with Luka instead of Donovan Mitchell. He'll be pretty much the same. He's going to probably cost them some games on the offensive end, but the hope is that he now kind of gives the antithesis to all of the strategies that have been used against the Dallas Mavericks so far, attacking them down low. Rudy Gobert would fix a lot of those holes. That's all I'm saying.
Also, Luka's a much better distributor than anyone Gobert's ever had.
That's true. If that happens, we'll see. We'll see. You can personal rebrand is fine. I don't know about a whole show rebrand. I still have some qualms about the brother. But we'll move on. We'll move on to the other series that's 0-2 to 3-2, just in a different way. And that's Sixers versus the Heat. I mean, the story, we can get right into it. The story is Joel Embiid, right? Like the story is, you know, he comes back. He's out for the first 2 games. Obviously, the Heat win in Miami. He comes back for Game 3. You guys win Games 3 and Games 4 in Philadelphia. And then Tuesday night in Miami, it just talk to me.
It looked like Dallas.
What happened? Like, what happened?
Embiid didn't show up. Actually, the whole team didn't show up. But it starts
Thank you. Go ahead.
Look, and don't get it twisted. I've never called into a sports talk radio show. Today was the closest I've been in my entire life to absolutely trying to ream out one of the WIP hosts for going in on Joel Embiid. He's a quitter. He's a baby. Like, if you have any criticism of Joel Embiid, your head doesn't work.
Thank you.
If you have any criticism, this guy has gone through literally like half the stuff he's gone through in his professional career would break most people. He is the rightful MVP, despite it going to another guy, which we don't have to talk about. And some people say, like, oh, it was the MVP that went into him.
Ludicrous.
Went into him having a bad game. How about this? You let me bash your face and hand relentlessly with a hammer, and then we'll play a basketball game, and we'll see how well you do at the basketball game. Like,
by the way, during the basketball game, I'm gonna push the ball in the same spot that's broken. I'm gonna hit it again.
Also, you're not allowed to condition yourself at all because you had a concussion for 6 days. You have to sit in a dark room and then immediately get inserted to playoff basketball. You play 2 unbelievably must-win high-intensity games at home. The crowd, you can feed off that. Then you go on the road, and it's an impossible task we're asking him to do. Like there's so many things that I can like explain what went wrong Game 5, and I really think it's just like the little internal things that are inside like people's heads. Like, you're down 0-2, you claw back to get it 2-2. At home, you get your best player back, and your mentality is okay, we did our job, we got back home. While Miami's thinking, there's no way we can lose Game 5 or else it's
that was
over.
A must win for Miami.
It's a must win.
So it's just that, and that little, like, oh, you're down 18-10, 5 minutes into the game, and then it's just like, oh, that's just the way it's gonna go. I've seen it happen so many times in Game 5, like against Toronto 2 years ago when it was 2-2. We got blown out Game 5. And we almost won that series.
People were calling the series dead, too. Dead after that Game 5 loss. And I think that Embiid, even a hurt Embiid, he has literally said, I'm a decoy. And he still manages to put up like 16, 17. Last night, he led the team with 17. That's not going to get it done. So like, there's like the idealist Sixers where Embiid is your centerpiece and you go through him. And then there's the realist Sixers, which where we're at right now. You have to use him like he's prime DeAndre Jordan, Clint Capella, rim running center who is not to have the ball from further than like 15 feet, because he's just not a threat from there anymore. And it allows the defense to compensate where he can still be a physical threat in the paint. One big, like if you talk about games 1 and 2 to games 3 and 4, the most glaring thing that immediately happened was when they were building a wall to stop James Harden, the ball was getting lobbed over top to Joel Embiid. And that's all day. So right then and there, that's an immediate adjustment forced by him just being there. But this is the 1 seed that you're dealing with. And I think in game 5, what you saw is a return to team basketball for Miami. No more Jimmy Butler hero ball. And the Sixers are going to have to adjust for game 6. I don't know.
And I'm so glad you said 1 seed, because I think that's a lot of things that Sixers fans are forgetting is there's another team over there, another professional NBA team. Yeah. And not just any team, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference all season, the whole time. It's the Miami
really, literally the whole time.
The Celtics had it for like 3 days, and then the Heat took it back, and it's been theirs ever since. So when you talk about like, they just didn't show up. I saw a lack of effort. Yes, I think the Sixers came out a little flat. I think they're dealing with a lot. Embiid's dealing with a lot. He's the emotional, tone setter of the team. He's dealing with a lot. He came out flat, so the team came out flat. They're also dealing with one of the most physical teams in the NBA. A team who, led by Jimmy Butler, when smells blood in the water, will like go full throttle, foot to the neck. So like you have to remember and give them credit for not only being, a physical team, being one of the best scheme teams in the NBA, led by one of the best scheme and X's and O's coaches in the NBA. You don't think adjustments are going to be made going back home? You don't think that you're not going to be able to do the same things you were doing in Philadelphia, back in Miami?
Spoelstra versus Doc Rivers is another really bad match.
Oh, and that's maybe the biggest mismatch on paper that there is. Like, so let's remember and give the Heat credit for the number 1 seed that they are. Like, it's that really frustrates me when I see when I see that lack of credit going to the Heat.
Honestly, I don't respect the Heat that much.
And there it is right there.
I really think we're watching the 3rd and 4th best teams in the East play each other right now. The real Eastern Conference Finals is happening between Boston and Milwaukee, and it's a shame that Milwaukee doesn't have Chris Middleton, even though that series is 2-2 and up for grabs. Be 3-2 somebody by the time you guys listen to this. The Heat, nothing about them has impressed me. Like they're a 1 seed, but they don't seem like a team that can win the title.
Well, they're just
maybe I'm just wrong.
They're a team that doesn't have holes. That's what I think you're discounting.
I think you are just wrong. Yeah,
they don't have like no matter the game script, they really can do a lot. Mainly because of their guard depth. Like when you have Duncan Robinson picking up DNPs because you just didn't need his 3-point shooting, or because there's other reasons why he's picking up DNPs.
Because he's a
hole on defense.
Yeah, that's why.
But point being, you can fill that hole with another guy. Whereas if I'm playing another team and they don't really attack guards, that are bad on defense like Duncan Robinson, then yeah, Duncan Robinson can play. And now we're going to be a plus 3-point shooting team. Like they just have a ton of different looks with a really, really great coach and players who are
like, I'm not saying that they're not good. They're a very good team, but like, I just really don't see them, either team, the winner of the series, winning the East. I really don't see it.
My mom actually, of all people, brought up this hurt piece to me today about, if you really think about it, the reason Jimmy Butler left the Sixers and did not resign, partially Brett Brown. The other part is a guy who's probably not going to ever play an NBA game again. Ben Simmons needed the ball in his hands. When I was Ryan McDonough's podcast producer, we interviewed Jimmy Butler's agent, legitimately said Philly was not ready to have Jimmy Butler be their main guy on offense. And for that reason, we moved to Miami.
Chose Ben over Jimmy.
So you literally choose Ben over Jimmy. Because of that, you're stuck with $180 million Tobias. You probably don't go after Al Horford. Maybe Toby gets the Al Horford contract. He probably takes that money instead of the 180 mils.
1,000%. That's the first domino to fall.
And then Ben's unhappy and you trade him. And we are a deep team with people who all try hard and we like. I'm not sure that is the case for this Sixers team.
Pain. That's
feeling a little uneasy about Big James.
There's a million sliding doors moments. The one I think about a lot that's underrated is the fact that we had Siakam went 27th in a draft that we had 24 and 26, and Embiid was friends with Siakam, and we took Korkmaz and Timothy Loahu-Cabarrot.
TLC, baby.
If we take Siakam, we have a title because we beat Toronto.
Yeah, they wouldn't have him.
And speaking of that Toronto series, I think that's how the rest of this series is going to go. I think Sixers win Game 6. And then Game 7, I'm not going to say who's going to win Game 7, but Game 7 is going to be closely tight. I'm going to be having like panic attacks throughout the entire second half type Game 7, 2-point game, somebody wins.
Playoff basketball is just so...
That's how the rest of the series is going to go.
Yeah, grueling, grinding. Yeah, that's going to be tough. But we got to talk about, the games leading up, games 3, 4, and 5, because it's funny what happened, especially when you look at Jimmy Butler's output. He struggles in games 1 and 2, only averaging about 18.5 points a game. They win and then explodes in Philly for games 3 and 4, 33 and 40, and in 2 losses. And it seems like the Sixers mindset is, it's okay if Jimmy Butler gets off as long as nobody else beats us. That kind of, Jimmy Butler doesn't have a insane Game 5, but Jimmy Butler has a good Game 5, and then the Heat still win. So I think that's just interesting to look at when you see, normally if your best player goes off like that, you expect him to win those games.
And the flip side of it is he's running around trying to score 40 or has to score 40 to keep his team in it, and then you're not getting the same Jimmy Butler on the defensive end when you come back down the court. So
go ahead.
I just think that it speaks to the fact that he doesn't really like, if he had it his way, he maybe scores 20 and has 6 rebounds, 8 assists. That's like the Jim, which is exactly what we saw in Game 5 when they crushed. I don't like Jimmy can be a 40-point scorer, can score in the 30s. He did for a good chunk of this season before falling off a little bit, but that's not like who Jimmy Butler wants to be. He's not a pull-up jump shooter. And I think the Sixers' idea is, look, we're not going to let you get your shooters, Tyler Hero, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. We're not going to let them get these easy looks. Instead, we're just going to force Jimmy Butler to take 30 shots and hit 55% to be competitive with us. So I think if you're the Sixers, you sleep well on that, but it's just a little concerning that they just got completely jumped right out of the gates in Game 5, like Miami had them figured out.
Well, I mean, Miami had the Sixers on their back heels, had Joel on his back heels, and the Sixers kind of follow suit.
They had him on their back heels in Game 4, and then Harden made a bunch of shots that he's missed throughout the rest of the Sixers tenure.
And they call it a make or miss league, and that for James Harden, that's what it's coming down to. But we talked about how Embiid's the emotional tone setter for the Sixers. That's where I want to call on the other vets that the Sixers have on their team, the James Hardens, the Tobias Harrises. Heck, the DeAndre Jordans, if it calls for it.
No, it never calls for it.
Listen, not on the court. Not on the court. I'm not calling for it on the court. But you have to recognize when your superstar big man is physically battered. You want to talk about, Jake, you thought that's what Martin was what your tire looked like. It's kind of what Embiid looks like right now. You have to recognize what is going on, and if he doesn't have it, and if I'm James Harden, I'm Tobias Harris, I cannot allow the other team just to come in and simply outwill us. That's not what I'm going to allow them to do. They have to step up in Embiid's absence, and it's going to look more than just making shots. I'm talking about showing the Heat, physical resistance. Like, you're not just going to go and bully us and push us around just because our biggest asset, literally, is injured. It's not going to go down like that. You got to realize I got to be the emotional tone setter for the team.
If you were to rank, it's funny thinking about this. Like, teams that respond well to physicality, the Eastern Conference with the teams left. I think it's pretty clear there's 3 that are alike and 1 that is not alike.
That's not,
and that's been a reason why the Sixers haven't been. And like, look, I don't like you get hit with the deck here. What are you going to do? Embiid's hurt, but that's been the case a lot of the time. So they don't. Yeah. They've failed to have a contingency plan yet for the physicality of the playoffs.
Yeah,
and when someone like Paul Reed has a third of your offensive rebounds, when he's
Paul Reed victory tour.
Paul Reed I really like Paul Reed. He has a third of the team's offensive rebounds. He's played like 75 minutes in the series. You got to be better on the boards than that, especially offensively.
Well, it's tough doing the whole series because Embiid was out the first 2 games. So of course,
and the fact that PJ Tucker gets every offensive rebound I ever watched.
That's why he's on the court.
I'm not excusing the offensive rebounds. Yeah. I'm just saying that the numbers are a little inflated.
I also think a big factor for Miami playing better in Game 5 is that they realize that they're better without one-legged Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
Because Kyle Lowry, they don't need a point guard because they're such a balanced passing team.
Butler's their distributor for all intents and
purposes.
The Heat have 110 assists this series. The Sixers have 96. The Sixers have been playing much more hero ball and less distributing. And despite the fact that they have Harden, who's the second leader in assists in the NBA this year, it's just better coached, better balanced team.
Can you guys? I think I mentioned it previous episodes and it popped in my mind again because I mentioned it with Donovan Mitchell. Holds true with Jimmy Butler. I don't know if there's like an attacking 2 guard in this league that wouldn't be better suited as the team's main ball handler and distributor. You go look at I love CP, but Devin Booker is a good example where I think you get a little bit more out of him if you activate him as a distributor. Donovan Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, same thing. Luka, same thing. I don't know if Zach LaVine can do it, but that's an idea there too. The only guy who I think can really not do it would be Brad Beal. He's the only one that fits that doesn't fit the description.
Jason Tatum has started to do it already.
Another one.
Look how it's unlocked his game. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's what. Speaking of Donovan Mitchell, that's what the Utah Jazz fans are screaming, right? Get better at distributing the ball, get better at being all around, makes you an all around better player. We'll see, and I think Matt, there's something to be said. It's not that they don't need a point guard. It's like, one, we've done this without Kyle Lowry before. We did this without Kyle Lowry a lot in the regular season, by the way. He was hurt a lot, as were a lot of stars. I think that's where the balance comes from the Heat, is they've played a lot of this season without, this guy or that guy for a lot of the season. Jimmy Butler missed a lot of time. Kyle Lowry missed a lot of time. PJ Tucker missed time. Bam missed time. All of their big name players missed time at one point. And like we said, the Heat never stopped being the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I think it lends itself. So we'll see. Game 6 back in Philly. On Thursday night, we'll see, if who comes out the more physical team. And we'll see. We'll see if Embiid is effective. By the way, I almost forgot to mention this. By the way, shame on Shaq and Chuck. Shame on Shaq and Charles Barkley for their assessment of Embiid right after the game. Just saying that he came out with no heart, no will, didn't want to, came out soft, didn't show any fight in the game. As former players, as former big men, how can you not understand and have some sort of, not sympathy, but some sort of understanding of what Embiid is going through physically? Like, how physical a game.
I don't know if Shaq knows. I don't know if Shaq truly knows what it's like to bang into someone and say ouch. I don't know if that's true.
That's true. That's true. But Jake, you named it. You talked about, have you ever broken this bone under your eye right here?
I'd imagine it probably wouldn't be a ton of fun.
That's a bone in your skull. That's not fun. And that affects your vision. It's right under your eye. Like, you see every time there's a dead ball, Embiid take the mask off and kind of do this little blinking thing. That's because it's probably shaking under
and his
there.
shooting thumb isn't the same. So not only doesn't he have the best vision, he doesn't have the best touch. And the thing that got me, I didn't watch the post game because I knew I'd get annoyed by it because I was annoyed by the halftime stuff. But Shaq at halftime was like, "Oh, we see Embiid average 30 points per game this regular season. He's down to 24 in the postseason. You usually want to see guys bump up that points per game in the postseason." It's like, wait. He's playing at like 60%. And the fact that he got 18 in game 3 was like incredible. And what are we doing?
I'm so shocked by the lack of understanding by what this and when we ever had to question Embiid's heart and will. If he wanted to fold, he could have folded months ago. He could have folded. And don't give me the MVP stuff. Don't give it to me. This man, the second Ben Simmons got traded, posted a meme. He knows what's going on social media. He's plugged in. He's known just like everybody else is known. He's not getting the MVP. Heck, players probably have some sort of inside channel within them that told us before them that votes are coming in, bro. You're not getting it. So why choose now to mope about not getting the MVP? You're gonna wait till a pivotal game 5 in the second round to do that?
Only thing I'll say to defend them before we move on is they've often, both of them, like Joel has came out and said, like, I like when they're tough on me, like it motivates me. That's the only thought to like, I mean, and like Shaq even said with Rudy Gobert, like after Gobert fired back, like I respect that. He said, I respect that for Rudy saying like, I would lock your ass up. So I do think
hilarious, by the way.
In the end, right? No, you wouldn't. We have the Jahlil Okafor clip. We've seen the Jahlil Okafor clip. You're not locking up. Shaq.
He knows he wouldn't. He just had to say something.
Embiid had 11 in the third quarter too last night. Like he was the only he had a bad first half.
They were good,
and let's remember they're down 12. He puts up 11. The rest of the team collapses around him. That's all.
And let's remember the team he's playing. A team who is very savvy, knows where your weaknesses is, and a guy, Jimmy Butler and Bam, who isn't afraid to let, if I know you're a little timid, I'm not afraid to let my arms flail a little bit more. I'm not afraid to lean into you.
That's why they like being
harder.
physical.
I'll smack that thumb.
Yeah, dude, so if I'm Embiid, he probably went down in there in game 3 and 4 and probably said ouch a bunch of times. And I got on a flight. I stayed in a hotel room. I went all these places I'm not familiar with, and then tried to go play a basketball game against that same team. So no, I'm sorry, I can't go in there today. I've taken that beating. My thumb is hanging off my hand. I can't go in there today.
This is actual last thing on the matter. Notice when Embiid, something I found really funny because there was a Reddit comment from a Raptors fan like livid about it, and then I started paying attention to it. It said that Embiid tries to hurt people by falling on them, and I don't think he necessarily tries to hurt them, but every time someone gets up under his legs or trips him, it's like a heat-seeking missile. His body, his torso will crunch their torso. He got someone so bad. I think it might have been Bam or PJ landed on them so hard. I was like,
it's like the fat schoolyard and the bully. Like he sits on you and laughs.
Literally,
you can't
bounces on you.
You can't get up. That's funny. All right. So, like we said, the Sixers and Heat have a game 6 in Philadelphia on Thursday night. We will see who wins that. We didn't forget about the other 2 series in the playoffs. By the way, y'all, we know that the Warriors are up on the Grizzlies 3-1, and the Celtics and Bucks are tied 2-2. Matt says that series is over.
It may actually be over.
Yeah, probably. But because of that reason, we're recording literally as they're going on. We will save the conjecture and we'll revisit them next pod. Yo, trust me, y'all get our takes on that series. But we'll move on because we have yet to really assess the NFL since the draft. Our guy Matt V did a great job of breaking down the draft in every position group pre-draft. Now that it's post-draft and post-NFL offseason shakeup, the NFL offseason is still here, but post-big moves, it's time to really assess just the different landscape of the NFL. And I like the way we're going to go into it. We're going to go into it with like the teams that shook up, top trenders in the league. And fortunately for y'all, the Eagles might be the trendiest team in the NFL after the moves and draft picks that Sir Howard, I refuse to call him Howie Roseman anymore. He's Howard.
After what he did to after you disrespected the name and then the banners fell last time when we were in studio.
Yeah,
that was an omen.
Enough energy than I needed. But the Eagles absolutely just a slam dunk on the offseason so far. They get acquisitions of obviously the big trade for A.J. Brown to get Hassan Reddick, Kazir White, and Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean in the draft. You also re-signed Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett, Anthony Harris, and Boston Scott. Anthony Harris and Boston Scott, two low-key, just good, solid players for the Eagles last year. Only big loss is losing safety Rodney McLeod. That does kind of hurt, losing some identity of your defense like that. But we're going to use that as the Eagles shake up to talk about the NFC East as a whole. And this will be a little recurring thing we'll do, is we'll kind of use a team to dive in to each division in the NFL. This one, we're going to use the Eagles to dive into the NFC East. So first, go ahead, guys, talk about how happy you guys must be that Howie has y'all looking like this.
I don't know how to feel. It's bizarre. I'm not used to this. I am so alien to feeling good after, like, ecstatic after a draft. I feel like there's like something's wrong and just someone hasn't told me yet. Like the AJ Brown trade happened only because he has a degenerative knee injury that he's gonna have to retire in 3 years, or something like that. It's
Alshon Jeffrey,
or like what happened with Brandon Roy in basketball. It's the only thing that can hold back this Eagles team is the fact that I'm not sold on the quarterback. Yeah, I like Hurts.
Obviously.
He's pretty good. But, oh boy, it would be nice to have someone that I was confident in.
Well, I mean, and let's even give more testament to Howard, as you have 2 first-round picks sitting next year that you could do a bunch with. You pack stuff. He's Howard, Jake.
It really is funny.
He's Howard. He's just going to be casually Howard. You have 2 first-round picks that you could either package to go get a disgruntled quarterback. There's going to be a disgruntled quarterback this year. There's too many teases of disgruntled quarterbacks leaving to not get one.
Did Kyler Murray get his deal? Did they give him a big deal?
No. Kyler, Baker, Carson might be on the move again. Who knows? Whatever you want. Pick a quarterback.
Might fit into that new Kelly Green helmet that they're printing out pretty well. Is all I'm saying.
So I'm saying that Howie has the safety net if Jalen Hurts doesn't work out, and you have your big name, your big assets. You have them for years. AJ Brown's not a 1 year deal. Devontae Smith is still on a rookie scale deal.
Don't call me crazy, but I wouldn't hate Baker.
As a backup or as like a competing for the starter role?
I
thought about it too. I thought about it.
No. Like, I think he's pretty good. I still think he's pretty good.
I would like to bring him in and compete, or if Hurts gets hurt.
I don't see him doing anything more than Jalen Hurts couldn't do at his best.
Baker got the Browns a playoff win.
Baker, people forget because they got stomped.
Also had a tremendous defense that year and the best running back tandem in the league. You give Jalen Hurts that, he might get the Cleveland Browns a victory. But he might get
that's a fair point. But it is a maybe. It's always a maybe.
I like to get him on the team, see what happens.
He didn't.
Very true. I don't want to get off. I don't want to get off the point too much because we're going to use the Eagles to kind of get in the whole scope of the NFC East. So how does this, if it does at all, how much does this shake up the NFC East, all these additions that the Eagles have? Because right now, you have the Cowboys last year, went 12-5, won the division, but lost in the wild card. You guys come in second, 9-8, lost in the wild card. And then the Washington Commanders go 7-10, miss the playoffs. Obviously, the New York Giants go 4-13 and miss the playoffs. So how does this really shake up the NFC East, which y'all just did?
So 2 things. Number 1, I believe the Eagles are the team to beat in this division over the Cowboys, who have been winning it, or actually won it last year.
Come right out the gate hot.
That's first and foremost. And then secondly, something that I don't think is as obvious is I think it starts the clock for major players and major pieces in both Dallas and Philly. Mike McCarthy, Nick Sirianni. So from Mike McCarthy's perspective, okay, we can't be going backwards. We've got big money tied up into the running back, quarterback, pretty much maxed out with them. They had to let a lot of people go. When you look at the people who they lost, Amari Cooper, Cedric Wilson, they lost Zerline, they lost Keanu Neal and Casey in their defensive secondary. They lost Landon Collins. Like, there's a lot of players that are not coming back to the Dallas Cowboys. And I think despite that, like if I'm Jerry Jones and if I'm the Dallas ownership, like I'm looking at Mike McCarthy, like, look, dude, you got all the tools. You have Dak Prescott. We need to be winning the division. We need to be going deeper than the wild card in the playoffs. And ultimately, playoffs will really decide this. Same thing goes for Nick Sirianni. We looked at what happened to Brian Flores. Look at on the flip side of the positive side of how can an accelerated timeline can help you is Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur jumped right in, had success, and then continued having success, and he's viewed as one of the top young coaches in the NFL. Brian Flores overachieved with the Dolphins team a couple years in a row, had a middling year, gone. So I just think that for Nick Sirianni and for Jalen Hurts, this is the year. Like I think we could see a new face, both maybe less likely at the coaching spot, but very likely if the Eagles are not two playoff win team this year, I would say Hurts is probably gone for whoever the best guy they can bring in is.
I think one playoff win buys Jalen Hurts. I think
one playoff win. I don't know, dude. I would say yes
because that's progression.
It's not that binary. You can lose a playoff game and put up 350 and 3 touchdowns.
Right. I guess it does depend a little bit on how you lose, that second playoff game. But that second playoff game, most likely, is in the divisional round, but maybe could be. No, because you'd have to be the number 1 seed. But
if they're the number 1 seed, then it doesn't matter. I would say if he's good enough to get you to the number 1 seed, then you're probably going to keep him no matter what.
He's already. I'm not projecting him that far. But what I will say is I have no problem with you saying the Eagles are the team to beat in the NFC East. I'm tired of just giving it to the Cowboys. I really am.
There hasn't been a back-to-back NFC East champ since 03-04.
And I'm tired. Like. They should have been NFC East champs like 4 or 5 years running by now. But I'm tired of them being handed for the past handful of years the worst division in football and fumbling it like they're cat in a hat. Like I'm really sick and tired of it. So if I see subtraction on their end and addition on their end for a team who really just ran out of time to catch them.
Yeah, and
like 3-4 more weeks of the NFL season, you guys are probably the division winners of the NFC East, if we're being honest.
And you want to know, so you told me saying the Eagles, I was under the impression you were going to say that Dallas is still the best team.
They're still the best team, but I think that the team to beat is the team, like you weren't that far behind them. So you're moving faster.
Okay, speaking of moving faster, here's where you guys need to expectation set for me here. Because I would go as far to say, as in the NFC East, as far as the NFC East goes, Dallas isn't even the second best team. I might put them neck and neck. Fair. You can't put them further than neck and neck with the New York Giants. Am I crazy for saying that with Daniel Jones at the quarterback?
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah, you're crazy because I thought you were going to say the Commanders. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say the Commanders.
I thought you were going to say the Commanders because they
with
got
Evan Neal, an NFL ready tackle in the fold, Kayvon Thibodeau potentially, and you never know. Look, I will say, I love their draft class.
Yeah, me too.
But you just never know. But I put them up there.
I agree. They're confident in Daniel Jones. And look, if they're confident in Daniel Jones, like my mama says, you're the only one that needs confidence in yourself. So go ahead, boy. If you're confident in Daniel Jones, let it rock. You have Saquon Barkley coming back on what seems like to him a personal kind of revenge tour. He's been hurt the past couple of years. I'm here to prove I'm still that back that everyone thinks I am. And they do have a good draft class, and so we'll see.
Yeah, the Giants draft class was very good. Next year they still stink.
Yeah, them and the Jets to me are in the very same boat. Ironically, in the same city too. They're building something. They're gonna still stink next year, but they're building something for sure.
Quick question: did you guys see the story about Commanders quarterback Sam Howell?
Oh no,
I did.
What's going on?
That's such a red flag.
What?
The only meat he eats is chicken. No steak.
He's never had a steak.
Never had a steak. The only thing he has is chicken, like chicken tenders.
Here's the thing. If you know something is weird, why not just keep it to yourself? Like why?
Because
why put a target on yourself like that? Don't go on Twitter the next.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I can only when you say that two things pop into mind. Sports players, weird, eating, Patrick Mahomes puts ketchup on steak, and it's Patrick Mahomes. So, like, what are you going to say?
At least he eats steak.
What are you going to say?
Do that.
Number 2.
I'd rather you do that.
Number 2. You know what also sounded weird? When Gabe Kapler said, oh, yeah, I just like to put the ice cream in my mouth, swish it around, and spit it out because I like the taste, but I don't want to get the calories from eating it. And then he led the Giants to one of the craziest division title wins of the
all
like,
that matters is what you do on the field. Yeah, all that matters is what you do on the field.
So hey, maybe, and that's another reason this kind of transitions perfectly into the Commanders. Like, you really think they're going to be that good with Carson Wentz? I don't. I watched him for a lot the past couple of years. I don't.
That's the question I wanted to ask you.
I don't want to sound ridiculous, but people are underrating Carson. Like he wasn't. People act like he was horrible last year.
Listen,
he was
Matt, talk to him.
He was run of the mill average. You can be a good team if you have a run of the mill average quarterback.
And they were.
Yeah, they winning record. The Commanders are improved at quarterback.
Yeah,
Wentz is still going to drive people, Commanders fans, crazy.
He's not that much better than Fitzpatrick.
Nuts.
He's not.
But he's definitely he's the best quarterback they've had since Cousins by far.
And here's the thing, Jake. You have to remember that Carson Wentz exists outside of the last year and a half in Philadelphia. He does. He does.
And people act like he played horrible against Jacksonville, cost him the playoffs. He played okay throughout the season.
Cut the Jacksonville tape.
No.
Cut the tape on Jacksonville. Tell me what you see.
Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do, Matt. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be fair both ways. Now, Carson Wentz didn't play bad. He played terrible in Jacksonville. And the NFL is the ultimate what have you done for me lately league. And it's nuts that he played so bad in Jacksonville that one game made Frank Reich break up with him and send him to Washington. It's really nuts that it is crazy. That one game. That's nuts. But if you look at his season as a whole, 27 touchdowns, single-digit interceptions?
Well, when you look at, I'm not sure about the interception number, but when you look at the raw stats, it's probably not that bad until you.
It's not that bad. And then you look at the Washington Commanders side of things.
I mean, cut the tape.
An offense. Listen. An offense that has pieces in place. You got another deep threat in Jahan Dotson to go.
Oh yeah, you're right. 27-7.
Come on, man. And you look at their defense, a defense that gets back in healthy this season. You get Chase Young back.
Big for their team. Bigger than getting Carson Wentz over Ryan Fitzpatrick. Bigger upgrade.
I'm saying that this same team minus Jahan Dotson got to the playoffs. It won your division.
No, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Why does that not count?
Because 7 wins isn't going to win a division.
And they got better. I'm saying that team won a division, and to your point, upgraded their quarterback division with a quarterback whose stats we just named. If Carson does that this season, I don't think it's in a position where
my early predictions are
Jacksonville gets you to the
Eagles go 11-6, Cowboys go 11-6, Commanders go 9-8, 8-9, Giants go 5-12 or whatever.
So real quick then, before I guess we're done here, is let's rate 1 through 4. Everyone give their NFC East power ranking. Does that sound equitable?
Yeah.
You won't believe who I've got number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles. Slot them on it, right? Pencil them in.
Slot on.
Number 1, number 2 seed, maybe. We'll see. I'm going to stand firm on my Giants take. This is going to be one of the ones that I may strike out on this year. I got the Giants number 2. I may look like a dumb idiot, but I just think that you have pieces to if we're saying Carson Wentz being average doesn't matter, or if we say, Jalen Hurts being average is still enough for the Eagles to get
If you have a negative view, if you have a negative view of Carson Wentz, what do you think of Daniel Jones?
I view them equivalently. Of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is if Carson Wentz was a less good quarterback, but had all of his athleticism from when he's first entered the NFL. He doesn't. You're going to tell me that
you're in pain. No, you're in pain. You're in pain. You are hurting.
Because here's what
I understand.
If you look around the NFL and you look at, we could say last year, that's fine. Last year, a team say, I don't know, Pittsburgh. What did Pittsburgh ended up having? What was their record?
They made the playoffs. They're probably 9-8.
Oh, and they had Ben Roethlisberger quarterback. Oh, okay, interesting. No, it's just interesting. I find it interesting they were able to win a couple games with the corpse of Ben Roethlisberger. We don't think the Giants could click a few off in the most competitive division.
Did Mike Tomlin get hired by the Giants?
That's the one, and that's what I'll give Washington.
Also a rookie coach over there with the Giants.
That's the one thing I'll say. Give Washington this over the Giants, over Eagles, maybe even over Cowboys. They have the most experienced coach in Ron Rivera. I'll take him over Mike McCarthy, but that's probably the only.
All right, finish your rankings.
I got Dallas 3, Dallas going in 3, and then I have Washington coming in last.
It'll prove I know nothing about the NFC East if that goes on. It'll prove I know nothing about the NFC East. Matt, give me your ranking.
Unfortunately, I'm going to put Dallas 1. Eagles are close 2. Washington 3. Giants distant 4th.
You're hating.
And that.
I was hating the Giants.
Right, yeah. On me, not the Giants. I hate the Giants too.
Mine mirrors Matt's, Dallas 1, Eagles 2, probably not as close as you have it. Commanders 3, probably closer than you have it. And Giants 4, I don't really care how far you have it. Giants can be bad. But I do think, one, the Commanders are closer to the top of the NFC East than we think. And the last time people thought this was a 2-horse race between the Eagles and the Cowboys, Washington kind of middled back here for a lot of the season and then caught y'all at the end of the season. So
it's just so tough.
Can Washington win? Can Washington go 8-9? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will 8-9 win the division?
Probably not.
If it does, good for them. But that's not going to win the division.
Don't let Carson beat y'all. You won't want to come back on this podcast.
Yo, if you were to go back in time, if I'm like 3 years back into the past and I show them the picture of Carson Wentz in a Commander uniform, that's enough to break your understanding of reality. Who are the Commanders? Why is Carson Wentz not in an Eagles jersey?
That's hilarious. Why is Ron Rivera on their side? All these things will confuse you. All right, we're almost out of time for this episode of Straight Facts. It's been a great one as always. We can get some shots up at the buzzer. Someone got a shot at the buzzer. Get us out.
I just want to give a little tribute to the person that got me into Philadelphia sports, and that's Ray Didinger. He's basically He's retiring after a legendary career. I remember being 9 or 10 years old, getting an Eagles encyclopedia for Christmas that he wrote with Robert Lyons, and it was autographed by him. My grandma got it autographed, and I read that thing cover to cover a million times. The book is like in tatters, but I still have it for sentimental value. Ray Didinger is such an important part of me becoming this interested in Philadelphia sports and in all sports.
It's awesome.
And I'm happy he's retiring, but I'm sad to see him go.
Yeah.
Right. Now, a Philly legend, and if any Philly sports fan needs some like solace and some ease in their heart, go watch Ray. One of the best Philly sports fan defenses I've ever seen was Ray Didinger at the Super Bowl. Oh
man. Cut the Boston dude up.
It's an amazing defense. So salute to the
dude's name is Michael Felger. He is,
and that was That was only a couple months after Felger said that Halladay deserved to die for being an idiot.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, it sounds like a real Boston man.
Wow.
They really know how to make those guys up in Boston. Anyways,
yeah, they're great.
This is a happy end to the show here. So as I've talked about for a while on the show, industry can be tough. Pushing the ball up the hill can be tough. Rolling up the hill, something that we've done, and just personally, last 2-3 years, me, you, Matt, and Kyle, I think have really grown as content creators and as people into this industry. And got the call a day ago. I'm officially being brought on full time by Odyssey. I will be the production manager of 2400 Sports. We're going to be making local podcasts. If you have a team that you like, we're going to have a podcast for it, and I will be the one at the helm, pretty much creating it, finding the talent, everything, putting it all together, and getting it out to you. So yeah, I really was stunned. I was like, I'm so used to getting the no on the other end, like, oh, like, hey Jake, you interviewed well. I was like, yeah, all right, come on, dude. Like, I got things to do.
Yeah. Let me down.
You got the job. Oh, I didn't know what to say. I don't know what to do with my hands, sort of Ricky Bobby sort of thing.
They're like, Jake, you got the job. You guys are really gonna regret what? What'd you say?
It was pretty much.
I'm sorry.
But
congrats, buddy.
Long time coming, and something that will open up some doors for Straight Facts podcast.
Absolutely, man. Congratulations. Hard work paying off. It's about time they recognize the talent, just like you, just like Jalen Brunson. It's about time you get that bag, man.
That's right.
That bag was coming.
Yep.
That bag was coming. All right. All I got to say at the buzzer, it's time to play again. Our favorite game. Does James have unrealistic social expectations? For reference, guys, my mom has put me in a real existential crisis.
2 weeks running.
Because one day she told me that I have unrealistic social expectations because I got mad at her that she didn't bless me when I sneezed, which, by the way, I would do again tomorrow if it happened again tomorrow. So here's the next one. I'm walking into Wawa, right? I'm a young gentleman. I hold the door for anyone who's running near it, coming to it. So I hold the door. If you guys know Wawa, it's 2 doors. You're going through one, going through the other. Am I wrong for thinking that if I hold the door for you on the outside, just, common courtesy, hold the door for me on the inside? And this dude walks right by me, says thank you, thanks, and then goes and just not even gives the little finger nudge, push it open. Nah, just himself, and them things vacuum shut. It was closed. Notice, man, just
that's
did not
honestly
close me after I held the door. Am I wrong for getting mad at that?
James, that sets me off like nothing else in public.
Thank you.
I truly am not someone who will start fights in public at all. But I will become vocally
rumble.
Well, what I'll do is I will say you're welcome, even if you didn't say thank you in a situation like that. Like what I thought you were going to say is you open the door, they walk through it, don't hold it, and don't say thank you. That's when you get it. You're welcome.
Too much for me to knock me off on public.
You're welcome.
That happens too much.
That's what I would do.
Are we sure James isn't living out Seinfeld plots?
Is this a plot?
Maybe.
It's pretty much a loose Seinfeld.
Does Jerry Seinfeld have a bit about this? Because I got.
There's a whole episode about not saying bless you when someone sneezes.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Fire up the scriptwriters again. Man, I got a whole another season of Seinfeld if we go out on this theme, because it's ridiculous to me. I sometimes I feel it's intentional. So thank you for validating,
you're not wrong there.
My way of life. And we'll catch you next time on, does James have unrealistic social expectations? So far, it's 1-1.
For 2 James. Two James.
I'm 2 for 2?
Yeah, you're 2 for 2.
You're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
All right, I better always hear y'all say bless you when I sneeze then if I'm 2 for 2.
I don't know about that, but
if I'm like that. All right, but we're out of time for this episode of Straight Facts. We remember our guy Kyle Sarek, he's doing great things out there. We'll talk to you next week, bro. Also, shout out to everybody on the Up On Game Network, and also shout out my guys Jake Galley and Stat Matt Robinson. I'm James Jackson. These are the facts.